And welcome to the Mike and Mike Man Hour, guys. Here, Michael Buckeister here with my man Mike Reeves from Twist. No fancy bells and whistles tonight. We're going old school Mike Reeves. Yeah. Now that we kind of like fucked with shit a little bit and just got that underneath my skin a little bit, let's figure this shit out, man. So first things first, guys, I am joined by tonight with my man Mike Reeves from Twist, This Week in Sports Talk. Tell him a little bit about your show, Mike.
Well, we started off with a nice fancy background for me, and on that Skype, it looked like I was in a downtown loft in New York. Now I'm just in my apartment in Minnesota. But yeah, Twist, the Week in Sports Talk, man. We three guys from the Midwest who talk shit to each other while bantering about sports, have some fun, play some games. Twist, I know Dylan from On and Off the Field didn't know it was an acronym. An acronym is where letters stand for something, and Twist stands for The Week in Sports Talk. Green Bay Greg actually ripped that off from a podcast he did about 20 years ago, which obviously didn't go anywhere, and so we stole it.
Wait, they actually did podcast 20 years ago?
Yeah, fantasy football. They used to do fantasy football out of like the newspaper, and I don't know. It was weird times back then. Yeah. Now too, I guess.
Isn't it weird how fantasy football did start like some people's like at a bar or something like that, just between like I don't know, 5 or 6 friends, and it has literally blown up to a multi-million-dollar. Like I would say, fantasy football is more popular than baseball right now. To be totally honest,
I don't agree with you much, Buck, but I 100% agree with that. Fantasy football is amazing. I love it. I'm in 5 leagues this year.
I mean, like honestly. If we could have fantasy football without the NFL, I would probably be okay with the NFL taking the year off. To be totally honest, just
me too. If there was a way to do it, yeah, 100%.
Could be like simulate Madden games or something, and like do scoring. Like, I mean, shit. Why not? We simulate everything else, right? We go through the motions and left and right all the time whatsoever. Yep. So like guys, if you were on the YouTube page or the Facebook page, sorry for the technical difficulties. I had an updates on my computer. I was running tests on them all day. It literally worked. And then of course, as typical live fashion works here, it doesn't work when it's time to go live. But thank you. Shout out to Green Bay Greg for letting us know that he could not hear Mike Reeves. And I believe his quote was before we left the other live stream was, "You could not pick more trash host." Mike.
I don't believe that. I think that's gone forever now. So
I believe it is still on the RTS Sports Network page. So
damn it.
I will have to quote that for next show here. So like we do have some bells and whistles that I like to play with from time to time. But Mike, we banter a little bit back and forth, and we were talking about the whole Breonna Taylor, George Floyd thing. That's just something that we can't have back because like sometimes those vibes are there and then they kind of just disappear. And I don't want to like kill those vibes. So let's just go ahead and get into what does. How does that sound?
Sounds great. Let's fire away.
I'll start it off, man.
Cool.
And my first what the of the night is going to go out to all the wives out there. You guys drive us up the wall all the time, girlfriends, etc. Any female species, you drive males up the wall. I am in the process right now of buying a house or maybe even building a house. I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing anymore because my wife says go left and I go left. You say, no, I mean right. And then I'm so fucking twisted right now. Leave me the hell alone. Figure out what the hell you want. And I want to tell you for the rest of these 6 months that we are house hunting or building a house, where the fuck we're doing. To all the wives out there that don't know what the hell they're doing. What the? And now she's
What the to John Fox? He's in his first year as the radio play-by-play voice for the Hornets. So he tweeted out the N-word. This guy used to work for the Timberwolves and the Lynx. He literally tweeted out shot making in this game, Jazz versus the N-word, who they were playing the Nuggets. So I can't have a worse what the. So he's indefinitely suspended, and good for him. I mean, Nuggets and the N-word don't even rhyme. They're not even on the same planet. So clearly this dude's a racist and had the N-word on the mind if he was just tweeting it out. So what the John Fox?
First things first, looking at my keyboard, the I's and U's are kind of close together, I guess. So maybe somewhere down the line, I don't know, man.
How do you click tweet before even reading it? Come on.
I do it all the time. I'm not going to be honest. I'm going to be honest. Not the N-word.
No.
My next what the of the night, it is going to go out to all these preschools out there. I have a 2.5-year-old son going to start school here in about a month. They start like September 10th or something to that effect. He is 2.5, going to be 3 in December. He has a school list of like damn near $300 worth of stuff. We have to get Play-Doh. We have to get Clorox wipes. First things first, if anybody knows where Clorox wipes are, you let me know, because I need 3 boxes of Clorox wipes. If you can find those, great. And it's $80 a freaking week too for this. I mean, he better be damn near Einstein after this school year, because this is effing ridiculous. Preschools around America, you guys get the what the of the night.
My second what the night are the parents of the Big Ten players. They're seeking to make conference uncomfortable after the decision to postpone the football season. My mom tried to do this when I was in like 7th grade football. She had an argument with the coach and she decided to go say something. I was like, what the mom? You can't, you're a mom. Justin Fields came out and started a petition that had over 200,000 signatures in the first day. He's a player. He can go do that. Mommy and daddy, they're adults now. They went off to college. You need to shut up. What the hell?
That's a good one. And my next what the of the night, I've been on this COVID train for the last couple weeks because it is really getting under my skin and really it's really just pissing me off. So here in Indiana, if you guys listened to the show last night, they are looking to shut down football, not cross country, not volleyball, not basketball, not band, but football. Let me tell you this. Band in Indiana is a competitive sport, apparently. You guys can walk around, blow your trumpets around, yada, yada, yada. But if a kid playing the trumpet has COVID, he is blowing that spit in through his instrument into the back of the head of somebody else. How is band not safe? Or like how is band safe, but football isn't? You are literally blowing spit into somebody's head every day. But yet band safe and football isn't. What the, man?
Maybe if you just put a mask on the end of that trombone, then the COVID won't get out on it. My third what the of the night is 31-year-old Ingram from the Chargers is he's pissed off. He doesn't want to play. He is sitting out right now after Bosa just got that massive contract. The thing about Ingram is he's making $14 million this year. It's not like he's on his rookie contract. He's making 14 mil. I just watched Hard Knocks where Ingram and Bosa are on the sideline, and Ingram's high-fiving with them, asking how many jets he's going to get on his new boat and their buddies. And meanwhile, he's pocket dialing his agent like, I need some more cash, man. What the? 14 million guaranteed. Come on, man.
And my next what the other night is going to go out to Michael Holmes. He said, oh, my God, he hates the band members. I don't hate the band members. I just think it's bullshit that they can do their competitive sport, but football can't. What the hell is the difference? Football players are on each other for what, 10, 20 seconds tops. Band members are blowing spit in the back of their heads for the 15 minutes during the halftime show. Come on, with without football, there wouldn't be a band competition. So come on, Michael Holmes, you get the what the of the night, man. Freestyle that.
Michael, you ever seen American Pie? Do you see what they do at band camp? Nobody hates band members, man.
I don't.
Come
Hey,
on.
so just to clarify, I was a band geek in high school, like I was, and you guys are all fucking nerds. Every person that plays band is a nerd. Face it. Sorry, Mike.
Oh, it's all good. So my last what the other night, I can't end without talking about some Vikings. And Mike Sando of The Athletic talked to an NFL defensive coach who doesn't view Cousins as a game-wrecking talent. What the? Let me give you some statistics here. Since Cousins' first season with the Vikings in 2018, he's completed 732 for 1,050. That's 69.7%, resulting in 7,900 yards, 56 touchdowns, and 16 picks. He's also led them to the playoffs in each of his 2 trips. He's not Patty Mahomes, but he's getting it done and was worth the money. Screw you, NFL defensive coach. Numbers never lie.
Just not in primetime. So since Michael Holmes caught me off a little off guard on my last what the, this will be my final what the of the night. The Royals and Reds postponed their game tonight because of COVID concerns, I believe, with Cincinnati, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't read the article. I just saw it was postponed. I'm like, great. Here is another COVID case and another COVID what the for buck, right? So my question is, at what point do we stop postponing these games? Because we can only play so many 7-inning doubleheader games. Like, are we going to make it down to 3-inning doubleheaders or triple hitters to like fit in the season? Because I believe they still wanted to get the season done before November, if I'm not mistaken. Because, like, let's be honest, you really can't play baseball in December in New York. I mean, that is already cold enough in November. Think about in December. I mean, baseball is a summer sport because we are outside. We're just standing around doing a whole lot of nothing. So this what the is going to go to Major League Baseball. Just stop postponing games and just start canceling them, or just maybe just should have had a bubble. Maybe, right? Yeah, bubble. And Mike Reeves from Twist here. Mike, we sometimes freestyle and we bring a comment up and sometimes just go with the flow. Dylan from On and Off the Field says the Cardinals have to play 44 games in 53 games or 53 days with 11 double hitters. That is a lot of baseball. Now, granted, those double hitters are only supposed to be 7 innings, but what happens if they go into extra innings and whatnot? I mean, shoot, you're looking at a lot of baseball. Like, you are a Twins fan, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
If your Twins had to play 44 games in 53 days with 11 double hitters, as a fan, you can maybe be ecstatic, but these players are going to be wore the F out, aren't they?
Oh, 100%. And that's the one thing I don't think baseball had it figured out when this all started was after the Cardinals and the Marlins, they get their cases. It's like, all right, well, now we're going to do 7-game doubleheaders with Guy on second. And like you mentioned in your it's like, what's the third tier? What's the next alternative for what they're going to be doing? Is it, I'd love for baseball to come out and say, if X, Y, and Z happens, this is what the plan is. And I really don't think they have a plan. I just think they're flying on the, seat of their pants.
Yeah, I mean, Major League Baseball really had a roadmap to how to make the season work, because NBA came back before them, NHL came back before them, and they all had pretty contingent plans in place. And Major League Baseball was like, nah, we'll just do whatever the hell we want. And I mean, think about this. Yes, I see you guys in the chat here. That is murder for the rotation, for the pitching rotation, because most pitchers pitch about once a week, right? If you are playing 11 double hitters in 44 days, you are probably looking at 2 to 3 starts a week, like at that point point in time. Yes, they're only seven innings, but you still got to go out there and pitch 7 innings. That is going to be tough.
They should feel lucky, though, too. 44 days, it's like, dude, you're making millions of dollars for the next month and a half. Like, go get Tommy John after this. Go throw the hell out of your arm. Stop bitching and just do it. It's literally 40 days. They should just have 1 inning per pitcher.
Whoa, Mike, you are telling me that you want to be a professional athlete, put your life on the line for 44 days and go get Tommy John jersey? Tommy John surgery, it is potentially season ending because you saw that dude from Oakland. What is that little Chinese dude named that pitched and hit? His name slipped in my mind. I think he's for the A's, and he had Tommy John surgery 18 months ago, and he's still not back.
Well, they need to figure it out like the NFL with ACLs. That used to be career ending back in the day, and AP came back and rushed for 2,000 yards after that. Like, come on,
Well, AP is also a freak of nature. Well, he came back like 7 months or something like that. Like he is definitely
8 months,
freak
I
of
think.
nature. Yeah, like that is definitely not the norm whatsoever. And Dylan Moran hit me with it. Yeah, It is Ohtani from the Angels. That's exactly who I was talking about. Thank you, Dylan, from on and off the field. And Michael Holmes says Tommy John is the career ender. Maybe 5-6 years ago. Now, like it is more like ACLs in the NFL. Like you heal about a year and you're back, right?
Yeah.
So, yes, you do have those special cases like Ohtani from the Angels, or I'm trying to think of the closer for the Royals. It was Wade. Wade for our closer. He had Tommy John surgery, and we haven't heard from him since. I believe he got traded to the Oakland A's as well, and he's just been kind of SOL ever since then. But let's go ahead and move on. Let's move on to college football. You are a Big Ten fan, much as Green Bay Greg here. The SEC, as I know I said Big Ten, but we're going to transfer over to SEC. They released their schedule out today, and notably earlier this week, there were many, over half Florida players said we aren't going to go to practice because we're scared of COVID. Now, Mike Reeves, you being in Big Ten Nation, and you said in your parents are going to the Big Ten Commissioner's office fighting for a season, and these Florida kids are like, nah, we don't want to play. What is really happening with Florida players? Are they scared to play their SEC season? Are they scared to get, the 4 easy wins, just 3 easy SEC wins?
This is what's
really
different.
Going on?
This is what's different with college football and the NFL. NFL's grown men, right? They're professional athletes getting paid to do a job. College football, you look at like the Big Ten, like you mentioned, and these players like Justin Fields, who's the face of the Big Ten, probably the second best quarterback in the nation, who they're saying, look, I feel safer getting tested with my team and knowing all these things, and we want to play and we want to be a part of it. We feel safer playing football. And then you have the SEC, you have a team like Florida, you have a team like Syracuse who is doing this too, where it's like, oh, so we're going to play. Well, we don't really feel comfortable. These are just a bunch of punk ass kids who just want to make an excuse about some bullshit. It's like, put your piece of paper up to your face there, 2 sheets of Chinese paper and call it a day and shut the hell up.
Yeah, see, like that is what's different between the SEC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12. The Big Ten is smash mouth football. This is all those kids know, like up there. Cold weather, the smoke coming out of your mouth, playing in November, playing in December, punching people in the mouth over and over and over. And these Florida kids, they just want to go to the beach and hang out. Let's be honest. Like if I was in Florida, that's where I would want to be. Feet in the sand, a margarita in my other hand, right? That's exactly what I want to do. But then you run into the question, like, I think Florida is just legitimately scared to play an all SEC schedule. Like that's what it comes down to. You have winners and then you have pretenders, and Florida has been pretenders because if you look at their schedule, years past, they've had 5 to 6 easy wins every year on their schedule, and like now that is an all SEC schedule, they're like, hey, maybe we don't want to play. Maybe we don't want to go 3-8, right? Maybe we don't want to go 3-7. Like how many games they're playing? I don't know how many games they're playing, but I'm just saying they're scared. Like that's what it comes down to, I think.
We had a wide receiver, Michael Bird Jr. was our guest on Twist last week, and he's in the Pac-12, Colorado. So we were kind of chatting with him about the day-to-day now that they're canceled. And for the average Joe, you hear the season, is canceled. It's like, well, that football's over. Well, no, these players are still showing up, hitting the weight room, working with the team, working with the coaches. I mean, football doesn't just shut down because they're not playing. And we really talked about what separates the men from the boys. A lot of these kids, and that's what they are, they're kids. They have aspirations to go to the next level. And if you don't think that these college coaches and these professional coaches have relationships, they're very quickly decipher between who the men and who the boys are with, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 getting canceled and seeing who's actually showing up and putting in the work when nobody's looking. And that's called integrity.
Right. Yeah, you are 100% correct on that. Like integrity and like, yes, they do have relations with like players in the NFL or coaches in the NFL. Look at, I believe it was Matt Castle. He was a backup at USC. I think he maybe took 10 snaps his whole college career, got drafted by the Patriots, was a backup quarterback for the Patriots for 4 or 5 years. Tom Brady got hurt and boom, he stepped in. And I believe they led him to the playoffs that year, if I'm not mistaken. So, like, it is hard work off the field, and it is showing in the practice film and whatnot. Speaking of Colorado, and they used to be a former Big 12 team. I used to play them. Very hostile environment to go there, by the way. Very, very gross. People pee off the stands on you. It's just, I don't know, it's really, really weird. But I digress on that. Would you like to see a super conference?
No, just because I'm a traditionalist. Nebraska came out in the Big 12, and it's like, well, we're playing, so we're going to go talk to these other conferences and do what we do. And they shut up real quick because they're getting tens of millions of dollars pumped into that. In the Big Ten Conference, they'll see you later, Nebraska. I mean, they don't have any time for stuff like that. So no,
well, let me stop you right there on that one. Let me stop you right there, because yes, Nebraska come out with that tune saying, yes, we are going to play a season, but Ohio State and like Iowa, and I believe Penn State were saying the same tune. But the Big Ten was only singling out Nebraska on that because Ohio State, because the Big Ten needs Ohio State. So let's say Ohio State goes and plays an SEC schedule to take Florida's spot, right? Is the Big Ten going to shun them? Hell no. So why are they going to do that to Nebraska?
Well, part of, what Nebraska is, it was the head coach. Justin Fields for Ohio State is a quarterback. He can start a petition, blah, blah. They're players. They have no say. But when the leader of your organization, the head coach of your team is coming out and saying it, that's when you didn't hear Ohio State's coach saying anything. You didn't hear Purdue's coach saying anything.
I believe it was the AD. The AD said that they wanted to play.
Yeah. I mean, they all want to play, but I think the difference was that, we plan on playing. They were putting their foot in the sand and the other teams really weren't. They all want to play. I mean, they've made that, extremely clear. I'm surprised that PJ Fleck, head coach of the Gophers, I haven't heard a peep, out of them. And I just think he's
pretty outspoken, isn't he?
Oh, I love PJ Fleck. And it's a big year for the Gophers, man. We've been nothing for years, and we're finally coming in this year, ranked 18th. So if you look at a Big Ten who's not supposed to play, how does that work rankings wise? Let's see the SEC and these other power conferences play, and then the top 25 comes out next year. Does that push us all the way out? All that hard work last year? I mean, I need people to tell me things, man. I'm over here sweating.
I mean, like, I gotta even think about that, like, because they are the the Pac-12 and the Big Ten are saying that they're going to play a quote spring schedule, right? But they're going to play in January and February and March. I believe it was. So how does that affect the rankings for next year? Because those players that are playing in the January, February, and March have to turn around, take a month off. Then you have spring practice, April, May, and June. Then you have summer. So they're, in theory, going to play football for a full year from January to December full contact with just 1 month off. How do you think that affects those players coming in October, November, December of next year?
Tremendously. I mean, the whole thing from the beginning of this is, shined a light on that there's no true leadership in college football. You have all these conferences, all these presidents, all these ADs, but nobody answers to anybody but their own Power Five. So there's no fluidity. There's nothing going on, and it's ruining college football for this year, for next year, for the NFL draft, for these players that are opting out. Rashad Bateman, as soon as all this was going on, I mean, he's a projected first round wide receiver. So he opted out. He's like, look, I'm just going to focus on the draft. Micah Parkins from Penn State, one of the top linebackers, did the same thing. And I would too. You have players like Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields who want to play, but at the same time, it's a business, man. Justin Fields was talking about going back to Georgia. It's like, dude, why play and why risk it when you're potentially, a top 5 draft pick in the NFL? But without that leadership on top, it really trickles down. I'd love to see Roger Goodell type, one main leader that ultimately makes a decision, because we've seen that obviously work with pro sports.
Yeah, so basically you will need, so the NCAA needs to have a pyramid system. You can have Mark Emmert or whatever his name is up at the top, but then you need individual VPs or COOs of football, softball, basketball, just so they can legitimately make a good choice on that moving forward. I'm not going to say what Dylan said, but you can read that comment there.
Same thing. They're about as useful as these masks we're walking around with too, Dylan.
Right. Yeah. So I was actually talking to Greg about this last night. Like, why aren't more players from these conferences, the Big Ten and the Pac-12, saying, "Hey, why don't I just transfer?" Because the Big 12 is not going to start till like October 1st, I think it is. The SEC's first game is September 29th. You're roughly a month and a half away. You can transfer to Alabama. Justin Fields can probably go to Alabama right now, be starting quarterback, and Alabama could legitimately be national champions. Like, why aren't more teams or more players thinking about this?
Well, the portal's a process first, and I don't think the NCAA's came out and said, look, we'll you turn in your paperwork today, we'll fly you out to Alabama tomorrow. Number 2,
yeah, but if your school is not offering football and you want to play football, you can walk on there.
I get it, but can you imagine in less than a month going to Alabama and trying to figure out that offense?
That's what professionals do. They get who is it? I think
Cam
Terrell
Newton.
Owens.
Cam Newton's trying to figure out Belichick's right now. I think he's having some issues.
Yeah, but you are a professional athlete. Like, you have to learn a playbook in like a week. Because I believe was it Randy Moss or Terrell Owens that went from Tennessee to Minnesota to the Patriots all in like a 3-week span or something.
Yeah, it was Randy. Like that. That's when Randy came back to Minnesota for like 3 weeks and was shipped out to Tennessee.
Yeah, so it's definitely doable. I like a thing, but sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, again, it's a mess all around. Yeah, I think they should be given the opportunity. If you're going to cut them off at the legs, there should be an alternative route for them. Really, school's going to be messed up too. They're not really there for an education per se anyway. But the way schools are happening, we're going to see how long that lasts. Going back into the school systems, whether it's college, you mentioned preschool, and it's different everywhere, man. My kids are 4 years old. They're in, a New Horizon at daycare. They're a year away from kindergarten. And basically the parents got to show up, let them in. They take all the temperatures and then they go wild in there. I mean, the kids aren't wearing masks. They're spitting on, sharing toys and whatever else. And childcare systems are petri dishes, man. Like, I pick them up all the time. I'm not even wearing a mask when I pick them up. They don't say anything to me. I don't say anything to them. It's like, let's go. And my immune system is, it's just one hell of a thing. I haven't had this COVID thing yet. Our co-host, Matt Benz, had it and he's kicking. So we're good.
Yeah. I mean, schools in general are just petri dishes for, because you got people coming from the east side to the west side, all coming to one centralized location there, and it is bad for everybody. So let me ask you this question. Like I don't know if you will know the answer or not, but I am a high school football coach myself, and we have 7 kids graduating in December to go to college in January to potentially play football for the respective schools for the upcoming season, right? Do you think that some of my high school kids that are going to Big Ten schools, that they could go to school in January and play football in January for a Big Ten and not lose a year of eligibility? Because in theory, it's still the same year. So from January till December, they could play 2 years of football with 1 year eligibility, right?
I think that's exactly what the NCAA is doing. Whether you're coming in or staying, is they're adding a 6 year of eligibility. So they're not going to take away eligibility for these kids because of this. That's like the one thing that they've done right. And I tell your kids that if they're planning on going to the Big Ten, think again, go somewhere else. Get out of there.
We've actually had 4 kids decommit from Big Ten offers and go to SEC schools.
Yeah, go south.
ACC schools, I should say. Louisville Cardinals got a pretty good bunch of kids coming in. With that being said, since they're adding that extra year of eligibility, don't they have to add scholarships as well, or how do you think that's going to work out?
Yeah, I mean they'll add everything. You know, it's new. They're learning. They're flying by the seat of their pants, like I said before. You know, but if you add that extra year, you're going to get. It's not going to take away from the amount of scholarships that are given per year. They'll just add additional ones that you accumulate. You know, it'll be have an asterisk next to it for the kids that are staying. A lot of the people aren't going to take time onto it. You know, you look at a player like Trevor Lawrence, who had to come back this year, who couldn't go into the draft. That's what I'm wondering is, let's say college football gets shut down again. Are they going to say, well, you need to play another season of college football before you're NFL eligible? Or are we just going to allow you to move forward? And I don't think there's any way possible they're going to tell these players that after this year that they were to remain eligible, that they won't be able to. There's just no way.
That would hurt the NFL so much for that. Dylan, if you were listening pre-show here or before we started the show for like the third time, I don't have all my fancy bells and whistles tonight, so there's no keyword tonight. So if you would tune in earlier, you would have seen that. But moving on, Mike, you used the keyword asterisk there, and that was a perfect transition of what we're going to talk about next. We are putting an asterisk on the 2020 season here on the man hour for NFL for football, for Major League Baseball, for hockey, for basketball, like a lot as well. And COVID has kind of all taken us like a step back and kind of angry at like everybody. But Mike, is this not the best time of year of sports ever? We have all 4 major sports possibly going to be playing for the next 3 months or like 2 months. So we literally have sports every night. For not having sports forever, we have different sports every night. Is this not the best time ever right now?
It's great, man, to keep us locked down for months and months and months with nothing going on. And you know it. You put together a show, you know, every day. Twist is once a week. You know, I was trying to get real creative there because I refused to shut the show down because there wasn't any sports. So, I mean, really, we had to shine through that and do it. And even sports centers and stuff. I mean, I couldn't even turn that stuff on anymore. We had to really have some fun and ramp it up. But yeah, yesterday, the NBA, ESPN was promoting a quadruple double. I mean, the games are starting at 12:30. I get TV at work, so I got YouTube TV up at 12:30 watching the NBA playoffs. We got baseball, we got hockey. We're about to have football. I watched the Minnesota Vikings practice yesterday while watching an NBA, playoff game. So, yeah, it does suck with everything going on. But if you're a sports fan, to have two playoffs going on right now, baseball with a shortened season, they'll be diving into playoffs soon, and the king of it all, the NFL, kicking off here in less than a month. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing if you're a sports fan, and if you're watching us, you are.
Yeah, I mean, like it is almost overwhelming that there are so much sports happening because usually like if it's hockey season, like I like to focus on hockey, and talk a little hockey. Baseball season, talk a little baseball. I'm like I don't know what to talk about. I mean, do I want to talk about baseball? Do I want to talk because like let's say you don't talk about Major League Baseball for 2 days. I mean, the Yankees can go from first place to last place in a matter of 3 days, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what the fuck just happened, right? I mean, shit. So I mean, it is definitely a very exciting time of year and very stressful for like me because I don't know what to focus on, to be honest. But
it's almost like a sports whiplash. You know, one day we're sitting there watching a bags right. tournament on ESPN, and then the next day we got 4 sports going on. I mean, we do bets on the show all the time. So we were going from betting on, you know, the Spanish Premier League and Russian baseball, you know, throwing a dart in the dark to actually being able to bet on actual sports. You know, I don't know these Korean baseball names or Spanish Premier League teams, and hell, I can barely get bets right on Major League Baseball. So at least I know the players in that one.
Yeah. I actually kind of because like I go to work early, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I actually kind of enjoyed like pulling up my computer at 4 o'clock in the morning, tuning into ESPN and actually seeing like a baseball game on there. It was actually kind of cool, and like how they're. I think they're broadcasting from their houses with like Carl Ravish and those boys. Those guys are true professionals that they can broadcast from their house and like and they feel like they're in this, and it's just a vibe they got. It's just very, very, very cool. So let's go ahead and move on to the NFL here. You are a Minnesota Vikings fan. You talked about Kirk Cousins. Let's talk a little bit about fantasy football. Normally, we don't talk too much fantasy football here. I like to keep it real life, but let's be honest. Fantasy football is God if you watch football at all. So give me a few quarterback sleepers this year that you are really looking to steal in your fantasy drafts this coming year.
I think your sleepers are the rookies. You know, Joe Burrow isn't just your typical number 1 overall pick coming into a situation where, yeah, they were the worst team in the league last year, but they really got a lot of weapons. You know, AJ Green, I believe, got injured today or yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. So we don't know about him, but they got some receiving weapons. Joe Mixon, you know, he's not some 20-year-old punk coming in the league. He's 24. He just came off, you know, a historic season in the NFL. You know, you talked a little yesterday about the Kyler Murray, not really a sleeper. He kind of worked his way up. He's a top 6 running back right now. You look at the progression of the quarterbacks, and your top 6, 7 quarterbacks are all, you know, black quarterbacks. They're mobile. They're, you know, it's not the old Peyton Manning, Tom Brady NFL anymore. It's evolved and changed, and it's a faster paced game, and I love it. I'm excited. So there's a Josh Allen. You know, if you look at Josh Allen, I drafted him as my backup. And when you look back at the numbers, you'd never know that he was the 7th ranked quarterback last year. You know, he does 7th ranked, and he's projected, you know, again in that 8-9 spot again this year. So for the people that are taking your Patrick Mahomes and your Lamar Jackson, they went in the first two rounds of our league. And they get those guys. You can really sit back. If you look at the statistics every single year, unless you get a Patty Mahomes who throws for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, or a Lamar Jackson who throws for 28 touchdowns, you know, over 1,000 yards receiving. I mean, those are mirages usually, but typically the number 1 receiver the number 1 quarterback compared to the number 20 quarterback in fantasy points, you know, there's like a 50-point difference. So it doesn't make that big of a deal. You can stack up your squad early on with those key positions of running back and wide receiver, and you can get a Matt Ryan or Tom Brady or Drew Brees or some of those proven consistent guys, and then even take as like a backup, you know, a rookie flyer. You know, Baker Mayfield is, in my opinion, going to have a big year. Okay. I was fired up yesterday listening to you guys. And I just think that Kevin Stefanski offense, they've really connected since COVID, gotten on the same page. The trouble with Cleveland is they've sucked for so long, and the main quarterback right before him was Johnny Manziel, who had that same kind of white boy swagger like Baker Mayfield does. But the thing with Baker is Baker's a winner, man. He went from Texas Tech as a walk-on to Oklahoma, worked his way up. Yeah, worked his way up, won a Heisman, and it's like the dude isn't Johnny Manziel. And yeah, he was supposed to have that breakout, year last year, but look at their coach last year, man. Like he's like an offensive line coach that should have never had an opportunity to get an NFL coaching job, and he did. The fact that they're finally getting some fluidity in there now with Kevin Stefanski. Again, Kevin, he was the only Viking coach who lasted. I forget how far back he went, but he was like through 6 head coaches and he stayed as a part of the organization. A new head coach comes in, he brings his own guys in. Every single head coach that came in loved him and he stayed on board. So that's the pedigree of a guy like Stefanski. Yeah. He wasn't necessarily running the offense on his own last year. We had a guy, Gary Kubiak here, who's our offensive coordinator this year, who was kind of his shadow, making sure he was doing everything. But he brings that same philosophy, that run first, that West Coast style passing, that 2 tight end. And I think it'll be a good fit in Cleveland. I mean, obviously, we have to wait and see.
Yeah, just to add to your point there, guys, if you are ever taking a quarterback in the first 2 rounds, you are probably making a mistake. There are, like I said, there are only 2 quarterbacks you should be taking in the first 2 rounds. That's Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. Like at that point, you can wait till rounds, maybe even 4 and 5. Like I drafted my quarterback 5th round, and I got Big Ben Roethlisberger. Yes, he was injured last year, but I think he is going to have a stellar season this year. Every time he has been healthy, he consistently gets me like 24, 25 points week in and week out. Like he is just a staple of consistency. Now, as far as a steal of the draft, I drafted Case Keenum, number 12. You think Baker Mayfield is going to have a great year, and I could definitely see the potential, but just in case Baker Mayfield doesn't have a great year, I picked up Case Keenum because I think he's going to slide in there for Baker Mayfield about week 5 or week 6, take a few weeks to adjust, second half of the season make a late push. And then if I'm on that little cusp of like if I'm going to win the league or not, like, hey, anybody want to trade for Case Keenum? He's doing really, really well. Okay, you give me a wide receiver for Case Keenum, right? So I think Case Keenum is going to be a sleeper along with Andy Dalton like as well. You can probably pick him up, both of them, 11, 12, even probably free agency.
Oh, yeah, they're not – neither of those guys are getting drafted, even in a 12-man league. And, you look at Lamar Jackson last year, and I'm a big ADP guy. That's the average draft position, and then the value of them. So I won a championship last year. I had Lamar Jackson. That's in I'm in one with the Twist fellas. But Lamar Jackson last year wasn't going in the first round. He wasn't going in the second round. He wasn't going in the third round. People didn't know enough about him to draft him so high. So his value came from being able to get him in the 6th round and then get the best numbers in the league. You were able to build your team up. You take a Saquon Barkley, you get your second running back. You build your team, and then you get a sleeper quarterback like Lamar Jackson. Same with Patty Mahomes, his first year, the value that you got off of him when you're taking him in the first round, you're not going to get the value of that average draft position. A lot of the times people just want them. They're fun, they're flashy. It's that new car. Like Buck loves the Chiefs. If he's got the first overall pick, it might not be the brightest decision, but God damn it, I'm gonna have Patrick Mahomes on my fantasy team.
So I can root for him, right? Yeah,
so I can root for him. AP, I got him years ago as my number 1 overall pick, but that's when he was worth it. Even if you're a homer, it doesn't matter. You need to be smart about how you're drafting. But again, people are just going to take whoever they want based on their own opinions. Everybody's an expert when it comes to fantasy football.
Right. Yeah. Like we all have the people that we want to draft, right? Like every year. So I play in a keeper league with me and my wife, and she had a pick. It was like 11th or 12th round. And I'm like, you need to get Patrick Mahomes. This is his rookie year. And like, she's like, but he's a backup. I'm like, listen, you need to get Patrick Mahomes. I don't care. Put him on your bench. He is going to do great things in the NFL. Sure shit. She picked him up his rookie year as a free agent, and she's had him ever since, right? I did the same thing with Jordy Nelson. His first 3 years in the league, he was below average wide receiver, right? His fourth year, I'm like, Jordy's going to do something because Jordy is my guy. Like, we went to school together. We went to rival high schools like as well. I just had that feeling. I'm like, Jordy Nelson is going to do some shit. And I got him in the keeper league, and I believe it was like his 5th and 6th year when he was like top 2-3 receiver in the whole league. I was killing my fantasy leagues. So if you guys are in a keeper league, look for these rookie players that are really going to make impacts. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but year 3, year 4. Like, if you're in a true keeper league, look for, Joe Burrow, possibly from the Cincinnati Bengals. You could probably steal him. What's up, Jameson? We see you. And I hate to say it, Jimmy G even. I mean, Jimmy G seems to score some points as well. But
yeah, he can. And free agency wire is crazy. 2 years ago, so I'm a back-to-back champ. I'm going for my three-peat. So 2 years ago, I won it with Patty Mahomes, and I picked him up as a free agent. He went undrafted. I picked him up after week 1, which is super rare to be able to get a diamond in the rough with a quarterback like that.
Right.
Typically, I talked about this. I was on and off the field with Dylan about a month and a half ago, and we were talking wide receiver fantasy football. And that's where you find the gems in free agency every single year. You look at last year, you had Devontae Parker, who it took 5 years for him to figure it out, but he finally did. Right. He was sitting there. Terry McLaurin was sitting there. A.J. Brown was sitting there. Some of these receivers who are coming off the board super early, especially in your keeper leagues, in your dynasty leagues where they're young and you want to keep them on the team for a long time. These players, especially rookies, emerge late, so they tend to not necessarily go drafted. But as the season goes along, they start to play better, and you pick them up, and they help you win championships. And that's what happened for me last year. A.J. Brown and Devontae Parker were sitting there. I had Saquon Barkley, who didn't come on till late. But those players, emerge late and help you out. And so free agency and fantasy football can be a huge bonus, if you play it right. I know depending on the league, I have one league where as soon as you pick him up, he's on your team. Most leagues aren't like that. It's a waiver order and you got to wait.
Right.
But you need to be on it and you need to be active because it'll help, get you a ring like me or multiple.
So you are big in the draft orders and like whatnot. I believe it was ADP that you referred to. What are some players that are drafting really, really high that you think you should stay simply away from those guys?
Oh, man. I mean, David Johnson is up there. You keep hearing about Bill O'Brien that, he traded away, his biggest guy for him. He makes me nervous. There's certain players that I just won't touch. And he's one of them. Either they burned you in past years and you just don't want to have them on your team, or you just don't like them. I will get a Packer if I want. Not this year, probably, Greg, but I don't do it that way. I'm all about my money. So when it comes to teams, and it's whoever really. To me, Mike Evans is one to watch out for. He's really had a strong-armed quarterback in Jameis Winston. And Tom Brady comes in, and you look like at a Chris Godwin, who's going to end up being that more of a slot receiver like Wes Welker was and like Julian Edelman was. And Tom Brady just doesn't have that cannon anymore. Right. And that's really what Mike Evans thrives on. So don't get me wrong. I think he's going to have a good season. He really, every single year, is 1,000-yard receiver with, 6 to 8 touchdowns. But he's, constant in those 60-yard bombs. And that's what he does. He's Moss-like. He's 6'5". He goes up and he gets it and he goes deep, whereas Chris Godwin is your slash and dash kind of guy. So people like that in new situations, tend to make me a little nervous. But I never count Tom Brady out. He's the GOAT.
Yeah, every time you count Tom Brady out, he wins another Super Bowl, right?
Yeah,
that just seems like how it seems to work. Now, I'm going to drop a name. People are going to hate me for it, and people already do because I spill facts and they don't like him. But I'm going to put out the name Lamar Jackson, not because he isn't going to score you a lot of points. is because that he is going so high in the draft orders right now. If you could get him second and third round, definitely steal him, whatever. But I would not take him first overall or first round, period, because the Tennessee Titans laid out a blueprint of how to beat Lamar Jackson and how to contain him. And I think many teams are going to mock that in the first probably 7 to 8 weeks of the season. Lamar Jackson is going to have a hard time adjusting to that. So his numbers are going to be way down. He isn't going to be scoring you 25 to 30 points week in and week out. He's going to be about 13, 14 points, like I think. Now, once he figures out how to throw the ball a little bit, he might jump up into that 20-point range. But I think in fantasy-wise, he's going to have a huge step back this season. I think he's being overdrafted in a lot of leagues.
Again, I think he's being overdrafted because of the value, but it's right. The Ravens offense and Harborough and what they're putting together. They draft J.K. Dobbins in the second round to be the heir apparent to Mark Ingram. I mean, he's a beast out of Ohio State. He's got an Ezekiel Elliott body. Marquise Brown basically was playing with a shattered foot last year. I believe they're bringing in Des Bryant for another look. Mark Andrews was a top three.
He'll be a Packer.
I know you've said that, and I don't know. We'll see, but the thing is Michael Vick was a scrambling quarterback, right? One of the fastest quarterbacks, one of the most, elite running quarterbacks we've ever seen. He was scrambling away from people. He played the Vikings one time and made 2 Viking players run into each other. I mean, it was incredible. But the difference between him and Lamar Jackson is running design plays meant to run. Right. The RPO, the run pass option that's come to the NFL and taken it by storm is a big thing, especially when you have a power run game with Mark Ingram. So their offense is just a weapon. You look at them and Kansas City Chiefs, they're up here and everybody else is way below it. It's just a well-oiled machine. So he's just not sitting back there. I can't find anybody. I'm running. These are designed, well-executed runs, and he's performing on it. So yeah, will he have a regression? Sure, because he had an MVP season where he broke the single season rushing record for a quarterback. But that doesn't mean, he did figure out how to pass. He had, I believe, 28 throwing touchdowns and 13 picks, maybe less than that. So he proved last year that he's not just a guy on his feet, that he can throw, and he can throw for touchdowns too.
Yeah, he threw a great 50-50 ball last year that landed on the other side of the 50 instead of the other side of the 50. But only time will tell for Lamar Jackson for this season. Mike, before I let you go, who is your Super Bowl pick for this 2020 season?
The Chiefs, 100%.
You think the Chiefs are going to go back to back?
I do. I think they're probably going to go back to back. I mean, Patrick Mahomes he's just a different makeup. Lamar Jackson is fun to watch, and he's a good quarterback. But when it comes to building a franchise and just having that it factor, Mahomes is just something else, man. You're lucky to have him. I went to Kansas City last year to watch the Vikes. That was my first time at Arrowhead, and hands down the best away game I've ever been to. I heard buddies back at home. The battle between the Vikings fans and the Chiefs fans for noise in the stadium was crazy. And I didn't get to see him play. We lost, and that son of a bitch didn't even play. I was pissed.
Yeah.
But the fans were gracious, and it was a good time. And, it's funny. I heard a statistic about the Chiefs that they literally had like $1,000 in cap space. And then they end up signing him to a 100-year contract. They got Travis Kelce. They got Chris Jones. They're getting their core of people together for the next 5 years. That's their plan and that's what happens with these great teams is, people get selfish and want money. I talked about that in the what though with Ingram. It's like it's a we, not an I, and if you want teams to have stability and win multiple championships, y'all need to elevate together and not just be about me. It looks like a huge contract for Mahomes, and it is, but it's team friendly, as crazy as it sounds. It gives them wiggle room, which it proved, this year that they were able to make other acquisitions and signings. And so, I need to see something before I go against it. I love my Vikes, but I'm realistic too. And the Chiefs, it all comes down to health, but who cares? If I got to pick somebody, I'm picking the Chiefs.
Mike, the next time the Vikings play at Arrowhead Stadium, I will go back home for that game. You and me need to meet up, and I will give you some of the best food in the world. Kansas City tailgate, hands down, the best food you will ever eat.
100%.
You can go to a restaurant anywhere in the world. Best food, Kansas City, Arrowhead Stadium, parking lot, Section C, slot 57. My man over there, Milton.
Yeah, no, it's a good time. Everybody needs to go. I mean, it's tailgating around the whole stadium in the middle of nowhere. And the thing is people, I've been to Green Bay before, and it's rowdy. I mean, Green Bay fans are assholes and they're drunks. And Kansas City, I mean, we had a blast, man, walking around, and I'm hardcore. I'm, draped up and dripped out in my Vikings gear and just having a blast. But that's the thing, man, is we lost and they were still gracious. And it's like, man, you guys have the best fans. And it's like, yeah, you guys too. Like, it wasn't like, fuck you.
Just never. So I went to an Oakland game.
I heard that was bad.
Oakland.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Never. Oakland KC is like Vikings Green Bay. Yep.
Yeah, it is it's very, very ugly. But Mike, thank you for joining us tonight. Mike LeBlanc, guys, should be back tomorrow. I will get the technical difficulties figured out on my end, hopefully, and we'll give away that snapback giveaway tomorrow. But Mike, thank you for joining us again. Let people know where they can find Twist when you're on air.
Absolutely. So Twist, rtfsportsnetwork.com, Monday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central. Go to our YouTube channel at Twist Sports Talk. Check out our website at twistsportstalk.com. All the social media platforms, all the podcast platforms. Get at us. Appreciate having me on.
Yeah, anytime, brother. Guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, 10 p.m. East Coast time. Hopefully everything works better tomorrow. We'll catch you then. Have a good night.